Call of the Wild is dying. Call of the Wild is a dead game. I've seen comments like this so much ever since they pushed out the update that nerfed grinding. And, well, just to put it simply, no, it's not. And I'm going to show you why today, because I feel like this is a video that a lot of you will find interesting, and it's something that a lot of people really don't ever look into before speaking on. So, today we're going to show off all the different statistics and stuff, and talk about all the things to show you and kind of ease your mind that Call of the Wild is not dying. A couple hundred angry people are not going to kill a game. Now, the first place that we are going to look is a website called Steam Charts. This website tracks the amount of players that given games have on Steam. I believe it actually tracks literally every single game on Steam if you just type it in and search it up. So this is a good way to gauge how many players are on at least the Steam platform. Now, obviously, there is Epic Games as well, and also the Microsoft Store on PC that you can buy Call of the Wild from as well. So there's lots of players on those platforms also, especially Epic Games Store, as the Epic Games Store was where they did their free week a couple of different times, I think last year and the year before, or maybe it was a couple of years ago, but they had a couple different events where they gave away the game for free for a week straight, and so that brought in, you know, over 1 million players, actually probably more than that. And obviously not all of those people are going to play the game because they got it for free, but you still have a good chunk of those people that are going to end up playing the game and continue to play it. So I would imagine there's probably at least the same amount of players on Epic as there is on Steam. And if we look at the numbers right here, this is September and August of this year. And as you can see, September 2024, average players of 3,157, with the peak players of 7,459, whilst August had 3,200 average players and 6,300 peak players. Now, if you guys look at the previous 2 months, July and June, you're going to think to yourselves, man, that is a crazy decrease from those 2 months. But of course it's going to be. This was the month that we got Sunder Patent. June 2024 was when Sunder Patent released, and, you know, in July, people were still interested in the map and, like, super excited to play it. So, obviously, it's going to be more... There's going to be more players in June and July than August and September. That's just kind of the natural way that things go here in Call of the Wild. Especially if we scroll down and compare it to last year. September and August of last year are looking very, very similar. In fact, September of last year had an even lower average player count than what we have right now. Same with the peak. It had much lower numbers. And August, 3,500, a little bit higher than this year, but around the same range with 6,700 peaks. So, as you can see, August and September are very similar numbers to last year. On Steam, at least. Obviously, there's no other way, or there's no other platform that we can actually measure, because Steam is the only one that actually makes these numbers public. But one thing that we do know from the community is that the majority of people play on console. So if this is what's playing on PC right now, imagine what's playing on console. Not to mention that this is just the average players and the peak players. That's not the total number of different unique users that play the game during each day or each month. So there is likely at least 4 times what we see here for like the total amount of people that logged into the game. So I would say that there is definitely at least 20,000+ people on Steam alone that play the game every month. Probably more than that, just basing it off of the fact that most people would only play probably a couple hours per day. It's not like the average person has all the time in the world to just play like 10 hours of Call of the Wild a day. So these averages and peaks, you know, it's just like the peak is the highest number that it reached during that day, and average is obviously the average number of players that it maintained during that day, but it doesn't really give us an idea of how many different players played. Now, the last thing we'll talk about while we're looking at the actual Steam chart here is that we know for a fact that console, primarily Xbox, has at least 3 times the amount of players that we have here on PC. I mean, you could just tell that by the amount of polls that go out on different YouTube channels asking what platform people play on. Usually like 70% of people are on console, with a very low amount of people on PC. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that there is 3 times the players on console as there is on PC. You know, if we have 7,400 peak players during September, and that's likely only maybe a third or a quarter of the total number of different unique players that logged in during that month, then you can imagine that Xbox probably has at least 70, 80, 90,000 people that play every single month. During this month, which is one of the worst months of the year for Call of the Wild. So that alone, I think, can show you guys that it's not dying. The game is not dying in the slightest. It is just going through the normal pattern that it always goes through. If you look at the Steam charts here, you can see things dip down during these types of months every single year. The same months are always the ones that have major dips. And then, come around June, we end up getting a massive spike. Same thing happens in December. We get a massive spike because those are the two biggest months for Call of the Wild updates, as well as those just being or at least December being a good time for people to have free time because it's around Christmas time. A lot of people are on Christmas break, so there's a lot more players. And then during these other months, things dip down due to lack of new updates, or just due to the fact that people aren't as able to play games during those months. So now for the second part of this video, we're going to look at my YouTube analytics for my view counts throughout the last year and a half. That way we encompass all of the different months that we're talking about here. And you guys can see right now, this is September. Well, that right there is October, but this is September right here. I'm averaging anywhere from 30 to 50,000 views per day. And this is while playing games that aren't even Call of the Wild as well. We've got other stuff. And if we compare it to back when I was only playing Call of the Wild during the August and September months, you can see it was very similar, if not a little bit higher on some days. And so this is a very normal dip once again. We can see that right here during November, December, view counts go up. And it trickles down clear until about June and then picks up once again. We can see the same thing back here. During last year, June went up quite a bit and then it went back down. So this is a very normal thing to happen in Call of the Wild. So for those of you that were worried the game was dying, it's not dying. Just because a couple hundred people get mad that some changes were made to how grinding is done, it doesn't mean it's going to kill the game, no matter how much some of those people may want to believe that the game is dying. And I mean, I'm a grinder as well, and I didn't necessarily like that update as much as I've liked other updates. But it definitely wasn't as bad as some people made it out to be, and it definitely didn't kill the game. If you think that's going to kill the game, then I feel like those type of people just want to believe that. They want it to be true so that they'll be right. But yeah, bottom line is, the update that got rid of forcing respawns and increased the spook range when you spawn at a tent didn't kill the game. If anything, the game is exactly how it was pre-update in terms of player counts, if we're comparing it to previous years around the exact same time. And I can almost guarantee that a lot of those people that quit the game due to the update are probably going to either just adapt like I have, or they're going to come back whenever a new big update hits, like a map or something like that. At the end of the day, we all love the Hunter Call of the Wild. We enjoy the different types of playstyles that you can do in this game, and even when a playstyle gets nerfed, whether it's intentional or not, we'll always adapt. We'll always find ways to enjoy the game because we love the game. And especially me, I love this game so much. I mean, it's literally what I based my entire channel around. At the end of the day, man, I feel like this is going to be one of those things where with this type of video and me making this type of video, there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with me. There's going to be a lot of people that try to make up excuses as to why I could possibly believe differently than them. But at the end of the day, man, I enjoy this game. I'll always enjoy this game. I just try to adapt to any changes that get made. That's what a lot of us that are super into the game are going to do. We love the game, so we'll just adapt to it. Which is why I didn't have nearly as negative of a response as a lot of people have had to the update that changed the respawns and stuff like that. Well, technically, it didn't change respawns. It just made it so you can't force them to happen anymore. But a lot of people want to make it out to be the end of the world when it's really not. Those types of people will call me a sellout and say that I'm only doing it because I want to get free stuff from the devs, when in reality, even during stuff like early access events, I'm free to say exactly how I feel. I'm free to do whatever I want and say whatever I want about the update, and no repercussions would happen just because I disagree with an update they put out or criticize something the devs do. I could talk as negatively as I wanted. As long as I'm not being super hateful, nothing's going to change. So anybody that says that I'm getting paid by the devs to say positive stuff about the game obviously just doesn't know me, and they don't know how this stuff works on YouTube. This channel's always been about positivity and having fun. And if I'm complaining all the time and getting mad about every single thing that happens, I'm not going to be having fun, and it's not going to give us a positive environment to just enjoy the game, enjoy the streams, and stuff like that. So obviously, I'm not going to be overly negative about stuff that doesn't warrant being overly negative about. There's been some changes in the past that I didn't like that I was very vocal about, but this just isn't one of them. I'm a hardcore grinder at heart, so I will just always adapt to whatever changes they make, because at the end of the day, my goal isn't to, be the fastest grinder and like grinding in the easiest way. My goal is to do the best with what we have, find the best ways to hunt and grind with what we've been given in the game. So if things change, I'm just going to change up my style and find what the new best way is to go about things. But whether you guys agree with me or disagree with me, let me know in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and at least appreciate me speaking my mind on these things, and hopefully easing your guys' mind on the fact that the game is not dying and it's going to be perfectly fine for years to come. Thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Subscribe if you're brand new. Click the like button. Leave a comment. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.